everybody. A bit last minute, but look, we actually ran a session similar, so I'll go through the same drill. First of all, VRPark was formed just under 2 years ago. It was as a direct response, I guess, to COVID and people struggling to meet and engage and collaborate by not being together. So a couple of things when we started the business. I'm just going to share my screen now, so you'll get a chance to see me in the park. So hopefully you can see that okay. So when we started the business, we didn't call it a metaverse. I guess it was Mark Zuckerberg who brought the term in the sort of public domain. We called ourselves a virtual reality business park, hence VRPark. But when people started to sort of look at this technology and give it that broad name, then we just followed suit. You know, it was mad to go against it. And can everybody see it okay? Is it on the screen? Just checking. I'll assume yes. I'll carry on. Okay, so what is a metaverse? What is VRPark? I guess the metaverse in our context is simply a digital representation of a physical space. So everything that our objective is that everything you would do in the physical world, we're trying to replicate in a digital world. So questions we would get asked is, you know, who uses the park? And we've got everything from small businesses, 3 or 4 people using it to collaborate and work together, and then maybe they're based remotely, right through to large organizations like PwC who would use it. They would have their own campuses and they would use it for onboarding and recruitment and training. So there's a wide remit of use cases. But what I wanted, and I guess one of the other questions would be, you know, when's it coming? So if you look at the likes of Facebook and Mark Zuckerberg, you know, there's plans afoot for that to be in the public domain, if you like. But in the private enterprise space, it's already there. You know, so we have a park in operation. We have clients using it day and daily. We ran an event. And I guess this just gives you a little bit of the power of it. We ran an event a couple of weeks ago for a lady called Marla Durkin, who's an economist based in the Caribbean. So she had an audience primarily sort of Central America, Caribbean focused. And she had a number of guest speakers. Now, I was at the event. We were obviously hosting it and making sure everything was going okay. So I dropped in sort of see what the event was like and who was attending. And David McWilliams was actually one of the presenters. So I'm sitting in the auditorium and up popped David McWilliams on the screen. And I thought that was quite amazing. So after the event, I spoke to David. And I guess if you think of a session like this, it's on Zoom. You know, we're all sitting listening as one person talks. When the session finishes, we'll all basically go back to our desks. But by being in the park as an avatar, and I'll show you that, I was able to approach David after the event and have a conversation with him. So I introduced myself, asked him where he was. He was actually running his session from Docky, nice house in Docky. Most of the attendees were from, you know, as I say, Central America, Caribbean, but from all over the world. So I had the opportunity to watch him and listen to him present, but also the opportunity to meet him and chat and do a bit of networking, as you would do at a physical event. If you were at an event and David was speaking and you see them in the crowd after the event, then there's a good chance you can go over and have a conversation. So that's what we did. I guess he opened his address by quoting Lenin, which was a bit risky, quoting a Russian at these times. But the quote was, I'll paraphrase, it was something along the lines of, there can be decades when nothing happens, and we can have weeks where decades happen. And I guess he said, we feel like we're in that space now. So, you know, there's been a lot of changes in the last 2 years, you know, from COVID to recession to inflation to war, to metaverse. So, you know, the world is changing rapidly. And I guess we're all just holding on for the ride. So it's going to be interesting to see how 2023 pans out. But without further ado, I shall try and show you what I've got on the. It says on screen sharing. Can everybody see? I just want to double check because it would be a bit weird if it carry on.
Yeah, your screen sharing. Okay.
Yeah, that's okay. Thank you. So this is me in the metaverse, in our metaverse, in the VRPark. So I'm just going to show you my avatar. So that's me. So the opportunity, and what I'll do is I'll actually go in to show you how to do that. So I'm going to just go in to change the avatar. What the avatar really is just a rough representation of who you are. So there's lots of opportunities. Obviously, you can change the gender. You can add. I'll just go back to that. Obviously, you can change clothes. So there's a lot of modifications. You can change color, etc. You can add a little badge on there, choose, etc. And what that's really trying to do is to come up with a vague representation of who you are. So at least when you're in the park, you're going to be looking like roughly like what you look like in the real world, but not too specific. The next generation of this is going to be, what we're being told in terms of development path is that it'll be pretty much a 3D representation of yourself, so it'll actually be, not only be you, it'll actually look like you. So this is me actually in one of the offices. So Excel team is another business I'm involved with, and Excel have an office in the VRPark. So if I just scan around, you'll see a classic office setup. That's my office there. I just take a walk down, you'll see Ian. So Ian is actually in his office. There's Ian sitting there. If I just hover over Ian's head, you can see that Ian's sitting there. And Ian, although he's in the office today, he's actually in London. So Ian's our sales director based in London. But the way we operate is that everybody, when they're in work mode, are actually virtually in the office. So it doesn't matter where they are physically, we're all together. So I'm just going to walk in. You'll just notice me switching my mic on, and you'll see the speech bubble. So that's me actually speaking. If anybody was in this space, they would hear me in the park. So I'm going to check in. I'm not sure what he's doing, but I'll ask. Hi Ian, how are you? Can you hear me okay, Ian? Good man. I'm just on a short demo. I just wanted to say hello. So if you can give us a wave, that'd be good. That's perfect. Yeah, thank you very much. I'll catch up with you later on. Thank you. Will do. Thanks, Ian. So I'm not sure if Ian's voice came through. You obviously see him waving. Sometimes with the mic being used for the video and the app, it doesn't come across, but you'll see the speech bubble. You can see a speech bubble actually as we look back in there, and that'll give you an indication of when Ian's speaking. If Ian didn't want to speak or he was on a call, he can just simply knock his mic off, and then nobody here. If I go back into my office, just in terms of, you'll hear a little beep perhaps. So in terms of privacy, when I'm speaking in the office here, nobody outside the office can hear. If I wanted some privacy, I can just close the door. Okay, so when I'm inside, nobody else can enter the office. Okay, and I can just take a seat. So what you will notice, I've got a couple of boards up inside the office, and they're web boards. So effectively just websites. You'll notice on the left-hand side, there's a few things we can do. We can upload a document. We can share the screen. We can put your video camera on if you wanted to do a face-to-face video call, or we can actually share a website. And the websites are encrypted for security as well. Okay. So that's us in an office. What I'm going to do now is just ping you outside. So in terms of available spaces within the park, just moving some of the banners about, there's a variety of spaces. And I'm not going to say they're infinite, but there's more spaces than you would ever need. So you've got boardroom, offices, You've got expo halls, you've got speakeasies, auditoriums. You'll see some of the Marla Durkin spaces we created for her. But what I'm going to do is just pop out to the welcome area. When you arrive, you've set up your avatar and you arrive in the park. Everybody arrives in the welcome area. It just takes a few seconds to pop through. Just bear with. Okay, so that's me arriving at the welcome area. Okay, so I'll just scan around to give you a sense of what that looks like. So it's based on an island, you know, so everything you see here is on a contained island. And all of these spaces are available either to rent on a time and as required basis, or some organizations, I mentioned PwC, have actually got their own park, their own island. In fact, PwC, I think, have 5 islands globally, just depending on the region that they're in. So when you arrive in the park, you have a number of options. You'll see some of the VRPark team there. There's Danielle and Roland. If you're not sure where to go, you need a bit of help with orientation. Those guys are effectively concierge reception, and they'll help you navigate through the park, understand how you can move your avatar, how you can transport and teleport or walk to different spaces. So there's 2 ways really of getting about. You can go to, so I can select any area there, try it again, and then just simply go to, and I'll teleport in. Or I can actually walk or run there. So I'm just going to take a run over to. Okay, so what we find, I guess, particularly last year, and I know the world's changing sort of dramatically and at pace. But one of the big challenges folks had was recruitment. You know, it was that kind of, you know, after the mass resignation, it was difficult to find the right people in the right roles. And that wasn't just a local problem, that was a global problem. So what we've seen was organizations looking at different ways to not only attract and retain staff, but also onboard them. You know, so if you imagine you're a gaming company based in the States, and you're suddenly recruiting developers from across the globe, it's very difficult to sort of build up any sort of rapport, any sort of collaboration with a lot of folks who've joined an organization that have never met. And what this does is allows everyone to get together for an event, maybe if it's an icebreaker session or for some training. And say this is a dedicated recruitment space, which accommodates, you know, it can accommodate 3 or 4, or it can accommodate 3,000 or 4,000. You know, the capacity isn't restricted. If we wanted another recruitment center, we can build that in the back end. You know, everything's possible. One of the interesting things is that we've seen, we're starting to see, I guess, some trends develop, is that the folks are wanting to use the spaces more for softer things, more fun things, if you like. So one of the folks actually set up a gallery based on Banksy's art. So again, you know, it's a space where people can come. It doesn't have to be, you know, getting that task done. It can actually be a bit of collaboration and just enjoying some digital art. Yeah. I'm just going to go back to the welcome area. You'll see that's pretty much instantaneous. You may have noticed a large in the background, and that's effectively a unique meeting space where you can meet on the boat. A little bit more to it is there's actually speedboats as well. So if you wanted to do a meeting one-to-one, you actually pick out a boat. Right. And actually carry out a meeting sitting on the boat in the middle of the sea. So that gives you a little bit, just looking back then at the sort of scale of the park. Just the background there up in the mountains, there's nature walks, there's meeting areas, campfire areas, theaters, meeting spaces in the lighthouse. So there's every sort of space that you would actually need, I guess, in terms of So in terms of controls, I'm just going to click on my little name there. So you'll see there's quite a range. So I can change my avatars if I'm away. I can actually let others know, so people know that I'm actually not available. So as you would have an out of office flag in your own office, that's an easy way. There's lots of commands which, you know, if you're at an event, you can raise your hand. Some of the more fun ones, and there's an infinite amount, and I don't know them all, but there's lots of ways that you can engage. So if you're at an event, you can join in and give a little bit of support. You can bow. You'll see some of the shortcuts. So F5, impatient. You can dance. Even if you can't dance in the real world, you can certainly dance in the real world. Okay. And as I say, navigation. So I'm, you know, in terms of me walking around, all I'm using is the left, right, forward, back keys. You know, so there's no. We do get from time to time people saying, like, you know, is it like a game? You know, do you have to understand a lot of controls? 99 times out of 100, I'm actually just using these keys. You know, it's left, right, back, forward, just to speed things along. You hold the shift key. Can get a sense then of some of the spaces now. A couple of neat things. Yeah, if you're struggling to navigate, if you approach one of the subways, it brings up a map. So if you want to say, like, I want to go to the VRPark tower, click that, and that'll transport you straight there. Okay, so that's me at the back end of the park. I'll just take you up to the roof garden to give you a sense of what that looks like. Again, you've got some meeting spaces in here. You may notice the blue lines then on some areas. If I enter in the blue line space, that becomes a private area. Okay, so if I want to do a one-to-one or one to a few, I can go into that space, and anybody outside the blue line space then won't hear what's actually being said. And again, it's quite a good opportunity to take a view of the park, just to give you a sense of scale. Some sports pitches out the back as well. So if you're actually taking a virtual football about or dunking a few virtual basketballs, then we can also accommodate for that as well. Okay, so I'm just going to pop into some of the other spaces. I'm going to go to, let me see. I'm going to go to the auditorium. So again, this is something you would be familiar with, the kind of classic waterfront type auditorium. So I'm now moved on to the stage, so I go into presenter mode. So by being a presenter, I'm just going to move that banner, which is so you'll see a few controls on screen. Hold on a sec. I'll get the overage there. So some stage controls, you'll notice it's quite dark, so we'll just turn the lights back up again. But if you're doing a more intimate event, it's easy just to dim the light. And I can, in terms of expand or retract, I could actually make the space smaller. So if you were in a virtual space and you only had maybe 100 or so people in there, everything's very configurable. So it's easy to, it's a click of a button away. There's no sort of back end configuration needs to be done. Everything's just a click away. You'll notice we've had a client in there, the Capita guys, and that opportunity for branding is available. If I just flick around then, what does it look like as an attendee? So I have the opportunity then to, if somebody was presenting, I can zoom in on this overall stage and to the left, whatever screen, the presenter, or if you just want to look at the presenter, then you can choose what you're focusing on. And you can, so it can be the person's camera, it could be them showing their face speaking, they could be sharing slides, if they could be running a video, playing music, etc. So as you'd expect, anything you'd expect to be able to do in the real world, then you can do here. I just give you that example then to, if I had a question, then you can see that I've raised my hand for that. I stand up, and I can put my hand down again. So, and the exit, I can teleport away. I can simply just leave by the door. Takes a few seconds just, and I will respawn back at the welcome area. Okay. So that's a quick overview. Happy to open up to a couple of questions if anybody has any specific questions. I know that was a bit of a whistle stop tour, so apologies, it was quite fast, but hopefully it's give you a sense of, that the metaverse isn't just for the future, that it's actually being used by organizations today. And I always say, technology is great if it solves a problem that people have. So if you have a problem, and whether that be recruitment or collaboration or working with remote people or building up morale or whatever it is, then we've got some answers in there. But it's back to the, it's only good if it's actually solving a problem that people have. So I'll leave it open. Any questions?
If you have any questions, you can unmute yourselves, I think, and just shout out, or you can put it in the chat, and I'll keep an eye on it and read it out.
Brilliant.
But it's Gillian here, David, and I'm just thinking people don't have to. You provide this sort of service for people. People don't have to, oh my gosh, how do I set all this up or anything? You help. That's what VRPark is. It's they utilize your park, and then you get it customized, or they use it. It's not, they don't have to start building this or working out how to.
No, so there's a variety. I mean, I only showed it can be quite overwhelming to show all of the spaces. So I showed a few spaces, I think, that might, what an office looks like, what an auditorium looks like. So infinite amount of spaces, all configurable by us, depending on the organization. Of course, we've a session later on today with an Indian company, McCullough, and they have acquired their own park. Initially they're using it for recruitment and onboarding, but there's lots of different business strands coming in. So because they're a technical company, they've started to train the trainers, if you like, and actually build their own admin teams who are then doing the configuration, because it's much more efficient than coming to us every time. But for those sort of one-off events, everything's done. All your audience has to do is rock in. There's maybe a little bit of presentation training required for who's going to do if it's someone from your organization, then we would show them here's how you open the mic, here's how you share your screen, all that sort of good stuff. It's a little bit more involved than a Zoom or a Google Meets type call, but the richness of it obviously is the value. But you'll not be left on your own. And the likes of Ronan there, for example, would be one of our tech guys. He would do all that configuration, and it's not super difficult configuration anyway, but he knows where everything should be and how it works.
Brilliant. Has anyone any questions for David?
David, Martin here. Are there public VR parks where companies advertise their products and show demonstrations of what they provide as such, and how do you charge in that model that applies?
So, in terms of, so you could go to VRPark.com or .online now and download the park for free. So, if you did it as we were talking here, you would appear as an avatar in the park. Any of the private spaces, if you like, then you would have to pay. So you can rent space on a per day, per hour basis. You can rent offices on a per month basis. Think of we're renting an office space. It's $10 per user per month. It's that type of ballpark, if you like. So For event spaces, it really depends on what the complexity, how many users, how long it's going to last. We could definitely do some bespoke pricing there, but it would be more favorable than a physical event, you know, although ironically, in a lot of the digital stuff, there's as much work, if not more, involved in setting up a digital event than there is in a physical one. But we do most of the heavy lifting there. So, but look, if you've definitely talked to me offline if you want some sort of specific pricing. But if you go on the basis from a budgetary point of view of $10 per user per month for an office space, that will give you an indication, I guess, as to where that pricing band falls in.
That's very helpful. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
Is there a recommended minimum bandwidth for broadband to make the application sort of work well?
There is, and I don't know it off the top of my head, although it's not very high. It's actually quite a light touch, even from a processor on the PC sort of thing. It's not a huge drain. Like I could have maybe 2 or 3 parks open at one time, and it's not causing me any grief. What we'll say is it's consistency of the broadband, is that the right word? But you know, the stability of it, if you like. So if you've got a stable broadband, it's fine. If it's unstable, you might just get thrown out of the park every so often and then have to log back in again. So it's not a huge drain. There are some tech sheets there that I can share with you for sure in terms of minimum requirements. But it's not a heavy load. It's not a heavy load.
Thanks.
Brilliant, thank you. Anyone, any more questions for David? And I'll share David's contact details as well afterwards. And David, even if you want to stick them in the chat there now.
Yeah.
Any more questions for David? David, thank you so much. Really helped out. And I know that a lot of people on the call aren't on the last one, so it was really good for them to see the park as well.
Brilliant. Okay, thanks.
Did somebody say something there?
So it's just me saying thanks. Okay.
So I am very quickly going to pass over to Nigel from Digital Catapult. I can see your. So if you can make me host again, I think, David.
Oh, let me see.
Or you could even just hand it over to Nigel, I think, if you can see Nigel's wee face there.
Right, I'll try, but I'm not trying to figure out how to do that.
So if you go over to Nigel's screen, Nigel's wee box, and then on the top right, there are 3 wee buttons if you hover over it, and then you can just say make host.
Sorry, Nigel. Ironically, I was looking at every other name other than the one with your face on it. So I'm thinking, where is this Nigel guy? You know,
it's all right. You get there.
Nigel, I've pressed the button, so hopefully it's worked.
Okay, let's give it a go. Good morning, everybody. I'm going to try and share my screen and see how we get on. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Almost there. Have a jiggery pokery. Can you see that, Gillian? Okay, yeah.
Yeah, perfect.
Okay, what about audio? Hear me okay, yeah?
Yeah, great.
Cool. Well, good morning, everybody. Gillian says I'm Nigel. I'm the Immersive Technology Lead for Digital Catapult here in Northern Ireland. And you're very welcome to this introduction to XR. And I'll also cover a wee bit about what Digital Catapult does. So we are, as it says here, according to ourselves, the authority in advanced digital technology. And what we're trying to do as a UK-based government project is accelerate industry by using advanced technologies We are about, I think there's about 10 of us now, different catapults. You've got advanced manufacturing catapult, medicines catapult, connected places catapult, and we're the digital a bit. And we kind of bring together a range of stakeholders and partners, like academia, investors, and startups, and kind of use that our expertise, I guess, at the forefront of what these advanced digital technologies are capable of. We have various different focus areas. As you see along the bottom there, 5G, AI is a huge one for us, and even quantum technologies. But the one we're going to talk about today is immersive technology. We've got probably now 10, 12 centres across the UK. Obviously based in London, there's around 250 of us across the UK. We've got facilities in east of England and Brighton, and more recently in Bristol. This is obviously, we are based in Belfast, where I am, and this is a little glimpse of our technology lab on our site here in the Ormeau Baths in Belfast. And having a space that obviously helps us to raise awareness of how and what emerging tech like XR can do, with a wide range of XR hardware and experiences to help showcase the technology. So we'll start with a quick overview. I know some of you and a lot of you probably know what this is, but just for those who don't, I think it's important to know what all these acronyms mean. And if we start with virtual reality or VR, where you're fully immersed in a virtual world within a headset. And then augmented reality or AR, where virtual assets they're superimposed on the real world, and they can also be viewed by a mobile or tablet. And then mixed reality, which is really where things are combining into, and is very, very relevant at the minute. That's where the asset is aware of the physical nature of its environment and is positioned with that in mind. And finally, XR, which is just the catch-all term for all of the above. And if, like me, you're a visual person, always good to get ducks in a presentation, I feel, then this might make a bit more sense. And the key difference here is between the AR and MR representation. So it's being the model in the MR photo on the right, and which is aware of the real world objects in the scene, such as a table, and can be positioned accordingly. Whereas the AR model in the middle there, it's just superimposed on top of the real world. A bit about kind of where we are now. I mean, what we're finding is it's sort of not what, but how. And what I mean by that is, the last 2 or 3 years I've seen tremendous growth in the adoption and development of XR applications. People are going, okay, I get it now, know what it is, but how can I deploy it? And lots of organizations maybe thought when the pandemic hit, it was good to see David talking about the VRPark there, that kind of thing will flip. What do we do? How do we collaborate hybridly? A lot of people just thought, right, jump out there and get into this space. But now a lot of companies are realizing, well, this is actually the way forward rather than kind of break glass in case of emergency. Now it's more of a kind of a nuanced and a comprehensive application that's being used in everyday operations. So this gives you, always when people come into the lab and they see this and greatest, and they kind of go, yeah, I kind of point them back to where we were. So this is only 4 or 5 years ago. What you see here is the Oculus DK1 experience. It wasn't that great, to be honest. You needed a £2,000 PC, you needed lots of wires, and moving and integration in the space was minimal and a bit clunky, and the visuals were average at the very best. But it's more that initial feeling of the experience of being completely enveloped in a virtual world, which was key. And then fast forward 4 or 5 years, and we have Mr. Zuckerberg and co, and who released to the world a £300 headset called the Quest 2. Very light, very comfortable, untethered, no wires, with quality visuals. And he isn't stopping until we're all converts. And this is his latest incarnation, the MetaQuest Pro, which is focusing on enterprise customers, which we have in the lab, so you can come and try. But it's very important to stress that's a small chunk of a very, very, very large ecosystem. So others like Pico, HTC, Sony, Lenovo, and Microsoft, they're all on this journey too. There's a vast array of headsets, costing from a few £100 up to several £1,000, with a big difference in comfort, size, features, and visual quality. Accurately track gestures using cameras in the headsets and clever AI to predict finger and hand movement has greatly improved over the last few years as well, and makes interactions in the space feel very intuitive. And some of the standalone headsets like the Quest and the Quest 2 and Pro, or they're experimenting, improving the quality of pass-through cameras, and that allows us to see the real world and our hands from within the headset. And that kind of removes the need for separate controllers as well. Another element of the immersive technology landscape is haptics. And that refers to the haptic feedback that adds to the immersive experience by enhancing the feeling of a physical as well as a virtual connection to the object or environment in question. And that's usually delivered via very accurate vibrations directly to a wearable like a glove or a vest, or the scene here on the right from a company called Ultraleap, and who use ultrasound waves to create tactile sensations in midair. And also the ability, which is especially useful for monitoring training experiences, to track a user's eye movement. It's also possible now, and even some of the cheaper standalone headsets, where only a few years ago that was the domain of the more expensive headsets. So if we look at how can this be applied in the real world, what is it used for? If we start off with concept design, this gives you a chance where multidisciplinary teams can work together virtually using 3D visualization to design and create new products collaboratively, quickly and efficiently. What you see spinning around here is a software package called Gravity Sketch. And it's very powerful, very easy to use initially. And as an example, it usually takes a company called Bell Helicopters, quite famously mentioned this return on investment, if you like, or example. So it usually takes them 5 to 7 years to design a helicopter from scratch. And according to them, thanks to VR, it took less than 6 months to fully design one of their more recent aircraft. We look at sort of the high quality resolution of some of these headsets. In this example, you'll see here on the screen, which is one of the very high-end headsets in the market from a Finnish company called Vario. It's £4,000 or £5,000, so it's very expensive, or relatively so, but has amazing visual quality. They call it near eye resolution. This allows really incredible clarity when viewing especially large models in the headset. A lot of the motor manufacturers are using them, as well as offering high quality pass-through. That ability of the cameras allow the user to see the real world while interacting with virtual models in a type of mixed reality hybrid. It's hard to explain, but it's pretty amazing to experience. And we also have that headset in the lab. Collaboration and review and design as well. That's using XR platforms. These can reduce the number of physical prototypes to make new iterations immediately available. So your remote teams can discuss issues around a realistic one-to-one scale digital product, as if they're in the same room, being co-present in that kind of blended physical or virtual space with your colleagues, lets you maintain stronger bonds between remote teams. And you can capture decisions, annotations, actions, and automatically feed them back into, say, a CAD to close that design review cycle. Usually what I see, this remote maintenance live opportunity with head-up displays. So technicians in the field can be fed information and instructions live, so they can quickly identify problems and carry out repairs and maintenance via a wearable head-up display. And the big thing obviously is hands-free. And users can also access items such as task checklists. They can access how to do videos and schematics, and telepresence capability to communicate with supervisors, and also have the ability to record photos and videos of completed actions for use in reports. Training is probably one of the most talked about and used use cases. It just works, and it's been proven to work much better than sort of the standard 2D training. You see the ability to combine here in this example, the physical with the virtual for crane operating training. So you got that physical connection to an actual piece of equipment you're going to be training on, but then you get the visuals overlaid in the headset too. And to give an example of the effectiveness of deploying this in a training scenario, Intel, the chip maker, they have to deliver regulatory training on electrical safety. And their VR scenarios placed users in a manufacturing plant where they had to complete specific tasks. The VR program also tracks analytics, such as how long it takes to train and complete tasks, and it interacts with objects as well. And Intel estimates a 300% return on investment on a single VR course, and 94% of trainees surveyed asked that more VR courses be made available. And it's not just VR. You mentioned earlier the mixed reality headset, for instance, here, HoloLens 2 from Microsoft. As you can see in this example, it kind of gives the environment much more of an intuitive playground feel, where perhaps flat work instructions and complex training modules can be brought to life from a paper manual. And then you can view those sort of accurately placed 3D markers in the real world, which can guide people while performing tasks hand-free. And again, we have the HoloLens 2 for people to try it too in the lab. And a huge thing which is quite overlooked, all this sort of jazzy, snazzy headset and hardware that's on the market, is the kind of software pipeline and how do you actually make it work, and how do you make it work for you and your particular business. And that's vastly improved the last 4 or 5 years as well. So how do you import, optimize, and export assets for XR? In the past, the software pipeline maybe meant jumping in and out of different programs to convert files, and perhaps it offered limited functionality. Excuse me. But there are many ways to achieve a plug and play approach, which means that no matter your starting point, there's always normally a clean way to get your data into an XR platform quite quickly. One of the companies there I mentioned, their Theorem Solutions in England, have done a good job doing that. All the sort of like successful elements and use cases of XR really come into play when we engage with people and 3D objects in a 3D space. The ability to walk around, manipulate, interact, and communicate in a virtual space where normally it would be impossible is a key driver of this technology, and became especially poignant during the pandemic. This particular one that you're looking here is a company called Spatial, who kind of pivoted a little bit more into more of a metaverse style area where it's kind of bringing together people in spaces that they develop themselves. But I was on their beta program a year or two ago, and it's quite fascinating when you put on the HoloLens 2 standing in your own kitchen, and then someone pops up as a hologram and speaks to you from Texas, and they bring in a 3D item into your kitchen, and then you're so believable, connected to the person, that you actually say, "Excuse me," as you walk past the hologram to get to the 3D object to view it better. So I think that shows the power of this stuff. So, I mean, all this is lead us to the point where I find people come to me and say, "Oh yeah, I tried VR a couple of years ago, didn't think much of it." It's changed massively the last 2 or 3 years and is getting better every day. And David says it's happening. People are using it. It's out there. So yeah, I've tried this technology a few years ago and maybe thought it's not for me. I would encourage you to think again. There's so many ways to incorporate this exciting tech into your business, and there's no one size fits all approach. And it may not be obvious to start, or you think you might start, or how you might want to deploy it. But hopefully this has given you a bit of food for thought about how you might use it. And we're always here. Anyone with Baz, please get in touch. And the proof of the pudding really is when you try the stuff now and put it on your head for yourself and understand how it can help you. Thank you very much, indeed. I'll stop sharing.
That was brilliant, Nigel. Thank you very much. You can make me host again there if you want. Has anyone any questions for Nigel? I am going to very quickly put in the chat. We've had a couple of sessions on immersive, and as Nigel said, like, it has come on so much in the last few years. I've just put in the chat channel our YouTube channel, and we've had David McGlade from Yellow Design talking about the stuff he's used for real estate, you know, so people can actually see what an apartment's going to look like, and walk around it. The stuff that the fantastic stuff he's done for tourism, with it. David Trainer from Central, using it, as Nigel mentioned, as a really powerful tool for training. And David has also developed a platform so that you can very easily, nearly as easily as David will say, nearly as easily as creating a PowerPoint presentation, start to create your content for training. So you know, you don't need to be a tech expert, but yeah, that you'll have to dig through the channel and then also through videos. But you know, there's those really powerful things. And then Queen's University, Dara, and I think it was Jonathan, were talking about how they're using it in civil engineering and, you know, those sort of really traditional industries, but how it's really having an impact, and just those really, really varied use cases, but how accessible it is now too, with those sort of plug and play supports. I will find Nigel, somebody's put in the chat, what is the website for Spatial? I'd probably be able to Google it in a wee minute, but
I'm pretty sure it's spatial.io. Spatial.io. Pretty sure it is.
Has anyone any questions for Nigel there? But Nigel's also involved with the Digital Catapult, is running a support program for manufacturing and Industry 4.0. So Nigel, I'm going to contact you as well, and Sue, about maybe doing a slot on some future webinars about the support you can offer to companies, but certainly the mentoring support that we're offering from the Digital Surge program for companies based in Northern Ireland. You know, if this is something that you're thinking, there's maybe something there, but I have no idea where to start, we can help you with 6 days of fully funded mentoring to investigate it and start getting some ideas and even MVP sort of started. But there's lots of support out there, and I will share Nigel's details afterwards as well, and the program that you're helping with Digital Catapult. I know Nigel has to rush off, so has anyone any questions for him? I always tend to hold the floor.
Yeah, and also, I mean, feel free to share my email, Gillian, with anybody. And you know, sometimes it doesn't come naturally, the questions, but by all means, get into contact and maybe I'll have a coffee and come around and see some of the kit we have here.
Yes, yeah, the Ormer Bath, a great setup. Okay, Nigel, if you make me host again there, please.
I think you should be now.
Yes, I am. Sorry. I'm getting better at this. It was even worse before. But Nigel, thank you very much. I'm going to let everybody go for a cup of tea or coffee now, and we'll meet back at 10:45. And then Mal Duffin, who is works in this space but is also one of the mentors on our program, he's been a great help, from Out of Tune Games, is going to give us a quick overview of his work and the technology as well. So I am going to the record button again. Fun fact, Mal and I met first of all about 10 years ago doing white collar boxing, so there you go. I am going to be back at your desk there, Mal. Oh yes, yeah, I
am indeed. How are you?
All right, I'm going to make you host. 1 second.
That was good fun doing the white collar boxing. I still get bruises.
I know. Oh, I'm really not good at throwing punches. I'm definitely not good at taking them. But
I seem to specialize in taking them when I was not good at taking them.
I got a lot of practice doing that.
It's almost as if they were aiming at me. It was very rude.
So that's you host now, Mal. So thank you I'll let you introduce yourself, and we'll crack on. So
okay,
big welcome to Mal, everybody.
How are you folks? I'm just getting over a bit of a cold here, so if I start to cough and fit, hopefully you'll apologize in advance. So Nigel and David covered a lot of the basics about, I suppose, what XR is. XR tends to be the sort of cover all the R's. So again, you have VR, which is completely immersive. You have AR, which is where you mix stuff in with a reality, I suppose, and then you've XR, where it's a sort of a hybrid in between, where you can have, like, it detects the environment, you can put models in front of your virtual models and stuff, so it feels a bit more realistic. And also David actually showed when he was walking about the environment there, like even the just interacting with it, like in a sort of video game style interface, where you're just using your computer. So some people could be in a headset, some people could be on a mobile phone, some people could be with an AR headset, and some people could be at the computer or console. So it's a great way of mixing all those technologies together, you know, because at the end of the day, you're viewing something in 3D. It doesn't matter if you're viewing from your eyes, from a phone, from a desktop screen. It's as long as your product's in front of them, or there's if it's education, there's something that you can interact with to learn something from. Or if it's just going to be a conference or talking to other people. Again, the key thing is you're an environment, a 3D environment where you can speak to people. It doesn't really matter what hardware you use to get in there. So because of that, I'll make this a bit more interactive than maybe talking a lot. So we'll actually get you to try something on your phones as part of this here, just so you can, I'm sure you've all tried AR before, but this is a great way of maybe seeing it in person. So my focus tends to be at the minute, or it will be for the next probably year, is going to be AR through your mobile phone. So again, it's great if you have a headset. It works brilliantly, depending on the headset again, but there's some fantastic headsets out there. If you've got augmented reality glasses, that's even cooler. But most people probably don't have access to them, and maybe aren't, like, I know I have issues wearing a VR headset for more than an hour. I get seasick or VR sick. So, but the whole thing about augmented reality through your phone is it's very accessible. Everyone's got a smartphone, or most people have a smartphone. I know sometimes I think of going back to one of them old Nokia flip up ones, you know, the battery lasts a week. But generally speaking, most people now have a smartphone. And typically, whenever you're bringing content to people, no matter what the device, you say go and install an app. So you've got to go to a store, you've got to download an app, and once you have the app, you've kind of got them captured there. That you've got them somehow, you've talked them into installing your app, or to send them in their location within another app, whether you're using Snapchat or whether you're using maybe VR chat, or but whatever. Somehow you've got them to download an app, and you've got them to go to your specific area within the app, if that exists, if it's a more generic app. I try to focus on, again, mobile AR, but no install mobile AR. So the content is accessible almost like a website. There's a technology WebXR, and it runs through the browser. So it means you can experience AR content with literally no install. You send a link, and the people load the link, and the tends to be whenever you're doing augmented reality stuff, and you have to capture the camera. So there's always a click where you have to go, look, allow this app to use the camera, so it can use the camera feed to then detect where it is, and also place items in front of you. So what I might do now quickly, just when we're going, is I'll share my screen, and I'm working on a new Mac here, so hopefully open system preferences, security and privacy. Okay. This is the first time I'm doing this. Let me try it again. Okay, sometime I'm going to have to switch to my PC. Okay, system preferences. Right. What I might do here is quickly switch over to my laptop, and I'll get this up now. I'm going to try, can I post images to the, right, I'll post a URL here of the experience so that everyone can try this out. There's like a Blue Peter moment.
Double-sided sticky tape. So when we get this URL in the chat, do we open it on our phones?
Yep. So, well, you can open it on your computer, and then it'll bring up a QR code, and you can launch that QR code. What I was hoping to do was share my screen, and I could have shown the QR code, but that I'm going to try and get that set up in the background. Yeah, so if everyone clicks the link that I've just posted on the chat, that should bring up a website that you'll see there's a QR code on that website. So just hold your phone up to that QR code and that'll load basically a web page. And once the web page comes up, it should say launch. I think it just said launch demo or launch experience or something like that there. So once you click on that, that'll bring you through to an example where you have a, it's actually a snowman playing the fiddle. This is a thing I put together a few weeks ago for a competition, and I end up, actually the Mac I'm using, I won one of the Mac Air M2 laptops with it. But the key thing for me was more to get in front of the company that create the technology. It's called Eighth Wall, and they just got bought over by Niantic, which are a huge company that are doing a lot of stuff with VPS, which is like a virtual positioning system where you can go anywhere. In theory, you can go anywhere in the world, or this is the long-term plan. Pull out your phone and the camera will detect where you're at, and then it'll allow the user then to place virtual content. So if you were, if you were in the middle of Belfast, you might pop it up and it'll know maybe where the Europa is, and it'll maybe pop up some messages or so everywhere at the, Grand Opera House. It might pop up some music related stuff. Or if you were in the middle of Money Glass at the Game of Thrones, sort of where they have the old castle, it might pop up dragons, so it's kind of picking up where you're at in 3D really, and then allowing you to place additional 3D content in front. So if you all try that for a couple of minutes, I'm going to try and figure out what's going on with the sharing this screen. But the good thing about this gives you hands-on, where you can actually try AR right in front of you. And what you should see is a couple of snowmen up here. And if you click on the snowman, and you'll hear in the background, it'll be jingle bells. It'll probably do your head in after a while. But if you click on for example, that snowman with the fiddle or the violin, have to be very politically correct with the violin players. If you then sort of hold down the mouse button and go left, hold down your finger on the screen and move left and right, it'll move the bow, and then you'll be able to play along to the music. So it's just a fun wee interactive thing. But the key thing is you're seeing something in front of your screen that doesn't, or in front of you on your table in front of you, or on the ground in front of you, that doesn't actually exist. So that's the augmented 3D on top of your reality, which is your video phone. And again, instead of just looking at something, it's an example of where you can actually interact with it as well. So if you try that out and give me a couple of minutes to try and figure out this screen sharing thing. Share. System preferences. Okay, it's appearing behind me. Okay. So hopefully that's my screen sharing now.
Yeah, that's
perfect. So what you should be seeing there, I'll just pop up this. There's a QR code now, just in case anyone. So yeah, if you didn't get a chance to earlier, if you want to just hold up your mobile phone to that QR code that's in front of the screen and try the experience out. So like I was saying, my focus is on allowing people to try out augmented reality, but in a very accessible way. So you don't have to go and get a headset or an AR headset or VR headset, either one. You can just try it out relatively quickly. The cool thing about this tech is that it works through the phone. It'll also work on your desktop. Although, of course, it won't have the camera feed needed for augmented reality, but it will allow you. There's some types of augmented reality where you're maybe putting stuff in your face, like maybe if it's makeup or if it's a tattoo or if it's a different hairstyle. So with a forward-facing camera, you can actually do that kind of augmented reality in a desktop. It's not placing something in the real world, but it's tracking your face, or it's tracking maybe like a a logo on a bottle, whether it be a bottle of whiskey and it's doing something crazy with the bottle, or if it's a box of sweets or something. It's a way of tracking something that's in front of the camera and augmenting that 3D object, whether it's your head or whether it's an actual product, and placing additional items, augmenting it with something that makes the user maybe learn something or just spend more time with the product. So hopefully everyone's given that a go. Right, we'll come back now to yeah, so the key thing there is the two things I want to show you. One is there's a way of basically trying out AR with basically no install. So it didn't have to go and get you to download an app. Right, what is going on here? And I didn't, you know, which is grand, because if you can get someone to download an app, typically you get them to the app can probably access like 95% of the power of the computer or the phone. So it's a lot more powerful. If you're doing something through the web, you can probably access 80% of the power. So it's a bit, it's always good to have someone download an app. But for some people, the extra steps in order to get a user to install an app, it can be a bit prohibitive and can sort of really reduce the amount of people maybe trying out your experience. So there is a big opportunity for web-based AR and also VR. Okay, one quick thing I was going to show you in this as well is, now that I'm sharing my screen, is the ability to quickly, I'm still getting used to this Mac, the ability to quickly change content. Why is this right on top? This is, couldn't be placed in the worst place. Bottom. Okay, so you'll notice there's a white box, for example, in the middle of the two snowmen. So what I can do in here is I can go and actually edit the box out. Where are we at? VR box. There we go. So typically, if you were doing this in an app, the good thing about this eighth wall stuff, again, all techs have their own sort of issues. You can see around here, I was trying to put stuff up to do with making it more VR compatible. So I can actually remove that box. I can build the content. So it's all building in the cloud. So once this build is finished, I'm going to land that change. I'm going to call it the remove box. Yeah, I'll just land the file separately. And really what this is showing is if this was an app and I updated the app, it could be a couple of days before the app gets to everybody, because it has to go back on the App Store, for example, or on, if it's desktop, it has to go on Steam, or you have to, if you're just downloading directly from the web page, you have to go and get them to download again or load the app, and it comes up, there's an update you want to connect. But with this here, I can just publish this now, and if I put this to both staging and public. Okay, so the cool thing about this now is if you were to refresh that web page, the box would be gone. So it's a good way of not only giving AR content through the web to and a kind of no install way to a lot of end users. It's also very quick to update, because if there's a problem, you can quickly fix the problem and push it out, and the next person to load the update has the newer version. You're not like 2 or 3 or days behind, and with everyone in different versions, which is great. Okay, so hopefully everyone's had a bit of a blast at that there. Yeah, so the key thing there was, I suppose there's another way of, sometimes phone AR gets dismissed, but it's actually very, very powerful. You don't get cool features, like you don't get 2 different images going to your eyes. You don't get the view from your eyes, which you do from a headset, but the accessibility of it is amazing. Everyone here can try that out, whereas not everyone can try out stuff with a VR headset, you know. Like I was saying, if you have a VR headset, that's totally the best way to experience stuff. But if people don't have it, mobile AR is definitely a great way to go. And again, even with mobile AR, like I was saying earlier, you have the app and you have the web-based content. And again, if you have an app, you have the you have a certain more there's a certain additional amount of steps for people to do to get into that AR experience. And with WebXR, you've less steps. You still do have steps. You have to scan the QR code. You have to allow the camera feed. But really, have you done that, you're into the AR experience. So that's kind of it. Like I'd mentioned earlier, I had sort of stuff here to talk about, which Nigel and David had already covered. So I thought I'd go with a more interactive approach. So really, I suppose we can go to questions to see if anyone has any questions about that there.
If anyone's any questions for Mal, you can just unmute yourself or put them in the chat there, and I'll try and spot them and read them out, or raise your hand or whatever.
Yeah, I'll post my LinkedIn profile here. Just and if people want to reach out, definitely, I'm always up for giving pointers, especially in this field.
Mal, Gillian, what sort of how could people use this to maybe it's maybe differentiating yourself in a marketplace or whatever, just or getting engagement with people, or so what sort of use cases could you see?
Well, with particular, there's two things with the eighth wall tech, I suppose. That if we're talking just in general, that whole augmented reality, a lot of products, like it's eighth wall has been used a lot because it's solving a problem that hasn't been solved yet in the phone. Where Apple haven't enabled a thing called WebXR natively on the phone, so you can't for free use all this cool tech, but they probably hit a button on it tomorrow or the next day or in a month's time, or it could be 6 months time, but eventually they'll support XR natively through the browser in the way that Google have done for the last couple of years. So eighth wall have come and they've solved it with a kind of software solution, but there is a cost to it. But other people are coming up with ways of reducing that cost, basically with alternative techs. But it's a sort of thing where like if someone's releasing a movie, like for Spider-Man that came out, and you could go to scan the QR code, and you could have Spider-Man dancing on the desk in front of you, or climbing the wall, and doing flip-flop off the wall. People are having it where maybe they're going and scanning. There was examples of, I think it was a Coors, some of the beer companies, and they had their beer bottle, and you could scan the beer. You could launch the app and then scan their beer bottle, and it would pick up on the logo. Even the logo was kind of rounded. They'd a cylindrical scan, and then what they could do is have for example, once it detected the bottle, it was having things like the bottle logo was sliding down. I think there was a glass of wine, actually, someone had it as well, and the logo of the bottle slid down, and then grapes started falling out of the bottle. And another one where there was a bottle and there was a wee guy holding onto the bottle, like almost like a wee kind of King Kong style thing. But once they placed the bottle on the ground, it detected that as well, and the wee dude jumped off and started running around the ground. So some amazing stuff you can do by holding a product in front of the phone. So it's that sort of thing where it's just engaging people more. And again, with they're adding a lot of screen recording stuff into it. So they go, here, record what you're doing. So they record the person actually holding their own purchased item of their own purchased version of the client's product. They record the augmented content on top of that, and then they make it very easy to share that. So it's a great way of trying to potentially get your product going viral. The thing about the eighth wall is it is quite expensive to use. It's free if you're doing stuff for yourself, but it's but prototype. But it's a great way of prototyping, because when Apple do hit the button on it, a lot of people will just automatically use that content for free. It's a good way of testing stuff out at a cost. But eventually, like I was saying, we're all waiting on Apple hitting the button. And once they hit the button on supporting WebXR, you'll see so many of these experiences coming through. I know I'm also looking at, for some clients, I'm also looking at using like the Snapchat sort of augmented reality stuff. And that's a great way of going. Of course, people have to have installed Snapchat, but if you're targeting a certain audience, they'll all have Snapchat installed. But there's ways of having a QR code that will basically load up Snapchat and then load up that your specific, for example, lens. A lot of people are using a specific lens, and Snapchat are so far ahead of anyone else in the game for like you'll even see examples of you point down and you can lift up your foot, and then it'll put like different, like a Nike boot on your foot, so it's not just detecting faces and stuff, which is relatively straightforward to do now. There's a lot of tech out there. They're they're tracking hands, they're tracking feet, they're tracking full body movement, so you can actually put clothes on people, you know.
Right.
So there's a number of technologies out there that you can use through your phone that are just amazing for that level of immediacy and accessibility, you know.
Great. And I think Jacqueline has asked, what software did you use to create your AR app? And she's Unity, but then it was the eighth wall stuff, was it?
Yeah, so that was eighth wall. So yeah.
For you.
Yeah, so I have used Unity in the past when I'm freelancing for doing AR and VR products. And again, when you do stuff in Unity, it's basically going to become an app, and then you have that extra step. But what you are getting is sort of you get 95% of the power off the device or the mobile phone or whatever you're running on. Whereas if it's going to be web-based, you're probably hitting 80% of the power, which is generally speaking if you're writing it well, you probably not use 30% of the power of the computer. So that doesn't make a difference unless you're making a high-end video game or a real high-end experience. But yeah, but in this case, it was just eighth wall. So if you go to eighth wall, you can sign up for like a free account and try it out, or which is pretty cool. So it's all JavaScript based and TypeScript based. So if you're a web-based developer, eighth wall is a very natural progression to maybe getting into AR.
Great. Okay. Has anyone any other questions for Mal? But yeah, no, I mean, and there's loads of use cases for sort of business to consumer sort of things. So it's not just industrial uses. So if you're selling, you know, if you're, I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, but maybe if you're a hairstylist and people want to see what if they did something really different with their hair, or
yeah, you could get into that now. Yeah, exactly. Now at that stage, you could do stuff like that with eighth wall with some similar text, but at that stage, it's probably better to go to download Lens Studio and try and maybe create a filter using the Snapchat stuff, because they'll have stuff to go detect head, detect hair, replace, like they've really high-end stuff, and that's quite a nice system for setting that up. And again, you have the issue with for some products you go, well, we can't do it in Snapchat. People won't have Snapchat installed. But if you're targeting fashion and maybe a relatively young audience, they will all have Snapchat. So there's no issue. It's almost like you're saying the technology is already installed. Just send them to our particular filter. And you might have the sort of thing where you just, again, put that those QR codes are handy. You know, they really what they're doing is sending you to a web page or sending you to an app on a certain location within the app. And in this case with the Snapchat QR codes, it would be sent them the Snapchat app, but sent them specifically to your filter, which could be color their hair, or you might have 5 or 6 hairstyles that you specialize in. Or if you were doing hats, you might go, look, we'd do 1,000 hats, but let's let them try on the top 5 hats, you know, because the key thing is with some of these things is present them with something quick, get them engaged with one of your products or a couple of your products, and then convert them to maybe going to your website or giving you a call. That tends to be a thing, is get them for those couple of minutes and then convert them to giving you, somehow contacting you, however that is, website or email.
Yeah, so it's really differentiating yourself and just sort of making making you stand out. So someone Rock, I think that's the person's name says, are there examples or news or stock market charts?
Yeah, so there'll be plenty of examples of web AR out there. Again, even if you go to eighth wall, the good thing about that, if you go to just eighthwall.com, it'll give you a load of people have already used it for a lot of creative agencies are actually using it at the minute, because a lot of big agencies, the cost of using it is like a fraction of what the big cost is for the whole, some of them marketing things could be like a couple of millions or tens of millions. So so if you go to eighthwall.com, you'll see loads of examples of where a lot of their clients have used it. Now, in terms of stock market charts, I don't know if you mean in terms of how, I know there's plenty of examples out, and people have graphed, like, where's VR or where's XR? XR covers everything. Where's XR going to be in 2023, 2024, 2025? Like, obviously you'll see trends, like headsets are getting smaller and lighter, and they're all going towards like I'll show a quick video here. Actually, I'll share my screen again if I can. And this was a great example of is this it here? Oh, sorry, I'm getting so I don't know if you can see this video here. And you'll notice it's only a very short video, but down at the bottom they have this basically says press the switch, and you'll see these lenses. These haven't been I should probably mute that. Okay, there we go. Okay, so you're seeing these lenses. Still getting used to this Mac trackpad here. So these are basically going to be the very light lenses. So going to be basically equivalent of your regular glasses. But you'll see as they go into it, you'll notice some sort of AR, like there's sort of Iron Man, and there's I'll just let this run. It's not that big, but you see how they're switching between augmented reality and then having everything blacked out virtual reality. So a lot of yeah, so a lot of people are looking at virtual reality with an AR mode, like a pass-through mode, or a way of the VR goggles showing what's around you. And a lot of VR goggles do it really badly. Even the Meta Quest Pro, a lot of people complain about lack of depth because they're trying to fake it. Whereas if you're taking proper glasses and you can augment stuff, but as soon as they have that, what someone had described there as a focus mode, you just make it completely blocked out. So it's effectively becoming virtual reality. I think most people are going to spend, if they're using augmented reality glasses, it'll be very subtle. It'll be stuff in the background. It might be you working as if it's not even on, but you maybe have a virtual screen on the wall, maybe showing stock prices. You have another one showing you. You basically, in real life, if you could afford like 20 screens and put them around your room, you would. But it's not practical. But with augmented reality, you can do that. But the key thing is, if you ever need then that focus mode, you go, look, I'm going to play a game for a bit, or just need to just cut everyone out. Then you go into the equivalent of virtual reality, where you can't see anything except for the virtual stuff. I think that's going to be a huge thing in the future, and we could be there in 3 or 4 years' time. The interesting thing is the battery life on a lot of these things. The battery life, like you pull on a headset, because I know I was working with a consultant with a crowd recently, and they're going to trade shows, you know, and they've all the cool the latest headsets. But even when you're showing stuff, after about an hour and a half of heavy use, or an hour maybe of heavy use, you're going to have to put it back and get it recharged. So instead of 2 or 3 headsets, they have to be like maybe 6 or 7 headsets, and half of them are continually in charge. Now I know Apple, they've talked about when Apple bring out their new headset, they're actually going to link it up with a belt. So you put on a belt, and the belt's the charger, you know, so you can have it as soon as the VR headset runs out, you can just plug it into the belt and keep going, or hot swap the battery, you know. So it's kind of an interesting way of, I think it was Johnny Ives came up with, he says, well, the battery doesn't have to be in your, there is a certain battery in the headset, but he said, why not have them wearing a belt, and the belt can connect up and keep the charge going. So it'll be interesting to see. That could be that could be like a good intermediate step for the sunglasses thing. You have a very light set of sunglasses with some sort of charge on it that might last for, you know, 20 minutes. But once you connect it up to your belt, or your, maybe stick it somewhere else over your shoulder, then that gets rid of the whole, how long is this experience going to last before the battery runs out, you know. So there's lots of that I thought that was a great way of it. There's a very physical way of solving a very real issue. But instead of people fitting more batteries and making them smaller, just put a belt on, because you won't feel the weight around your belt, but you'll definitely feel the weight if you had it, you know, up around your neck or on top of your head.
And I'm sure Apple will come up with something that's really stylish and minimalistic, and
Aye.
would be a must-have. Yeah.
In fact, just even with the mixing of the virtuality, an example before, it was a switch, turn it on, turn it off, and they mentioned that Apple are going to have, I don't know if you know the wee spinny button on the on your watch, on your Apple Watch. I think they're talking about having something similar, so you can, as you turn that, the reality will sort of merge, and so it won't just be on and off. You can actually decide how much real reality and how much virtual reality you want. So Apple are really going to come up with really expensive solutions that like eventually filter down to, I suppose, the fact that you can buy an Android phone now at like 80 quid, which is still pretty good, you know, that all filtered down, I suppose, from the £1,000 iPhones, you know.
Yeah. And
the same thing will eventually happen with any stuff that they bring out. But I suppose the reason they're waiting so long with AR headsets is just to get it right. You know, they'd rather release, which is, I suppose it's frustrating in a way, but it's kind of cool that they're keeping that level off. Even if you're not an Apple fan, you know, you have to, they definitely They do, even in terms of AR in the phone, there's two main technologies with mobile AR. There's AR Kit, which Apple brought out, and AR Core, which Google brought out. You thought AR Core would have suited the Apple more with the Apple Core, but and that's, both companies have really pushed the level of AR that you can get on a mobile device. The big issue with, for example, why I'm using the 8th wall at the minute is Apple haven't allowed the browser to use AR Kit. And that's what so WebXR is the web standard way of going, okay, the browser can have access to these features. But again, Apple could press the button on it tomorrow, they could press the button on it in a year's time. They definitely haven't pressed it in the last 2 years when they could have had, but they eventually will, you know. And I think when they release the headset, they'll want more people to experience AR. And the best way of letting them experience it is, you know, through a mobile phone. And the best way of getting it to them is in a way that's no install, so it's through the browser. So it's all ahead of us.
Rock is on this again. Are there any APIs to try or tutorials putting real-time data into web AR experience like Yahoo Travel or 8th Wall?
Yep. So I've done a bit of this here. So if you're doing stuff in through the 8th Wall, it's all JavaScript or TypeScript as well. So if there's an API out there that you can use in regular JavaScript, so you import maybe like a import maybe the library from a CDN, from a content delivery network, which is basically a URL, as I'm sure you know, like some URL online that says, look, here's an existing JavaScript library, and it has all the API calls where you go, get me like stock data on Yahoo Travel or on Google or on, you know, Apple or whatever it is, and then it just returns probably a load of JSON data. That's very easy to add into to 8th Wall. So then you could have it where that's just appearing somewhere. You could either have it, I suppose the simple way is just have it appearing in the screen in the background, or you could make it more interactive where you've maybe physical, like the parts of the ground lifting up or buildings going up and down, or you know, you can do some crazy stuff in terms of how you visualize that data, you know. But yeah, that's totally accessible by 8th Wall and by any other real even in Unity is a lot of ways of. A lot of companies like that will wrap up a Unity library where you can get it, or you can just use the Unity built-in, like the web-based interaction to kind of do the same thing. You go here, whatever the JavaScript library, they're going to be pinging some API somewhere, or they're going to be pinging some location somewhere that returns data, and you just do the same thing, you know. Okay, I think that's
brilliant, Mal. Thank you. And I know that was all. That was really, it was brilliant. And maybe some people are going, I wouldn't be able to use 8th Wall or whatever. But that's where the program, you know, the digital surge program comes in, the mentoring support, or you know, it's just to show you can do this in house, or there are always people like Mal or whatever to help you do it. It's just you know, how can you utilize the technology itself to help your business.
Yeah, and even through digital search, I've worked with a number of I've done that sort of consulting with a number of companies, and through those 6 days we tend to do is split it up into say 12 half days, and then that gives people time to, we'll do the initial introduction, and then I'll sort of mentor them on what's potentially out there. But what I try to do as well is I'll try to create an actual prototype, just so you can go, okay, that's something with your product in, and then based off that, we can kind of evolve it to something there where at the end of it, there's something you could see, you kind of went along the journey of creating that. And then what happens is then you now have a design, you now have a bit more information on how to get your product in. Because sometimes you throw your product in and you go, actually, that doesn't really, that's just the product sitting there. Can we make it more interactive? Can we make it more customizable? And it's by going through that journey of the consultation, whereas at the end of it, then you now know exactly what you want to do. And then you can go to the bigger step, which is, okay, how do you now get funding to do a bigger version of that product? Yeah, but by doing the practical steps of implementing something, you know, and once you get it, because sometimes people see my product, saw my product in front, that's all they need. But once you have it there, you go, actually, no, I need more, or, you know, and sometimes even how do you present them with information? You go, do you hit them with everything, or do you go, do you know what, they're going to be in this for, if they're in it for 5 minutes, that's probably quite a long time. So how do you hit them with almost like PowerPoint thing, you can only hit people with so much information,
Yeah.
but how do you tuck it into the augmented reality scene in front of you without overloading them as well? So the whole thing is, yeah, get them to try it out, get your thing in front of them in AR, whether it's a product or some training experience or just a bit of fun marketing around ice cream or something. But then how do you convert them then to basically contacting you? And that's the key thing there, is that you're not converting a sale, you're trying to convert an interested party, and then some other process converts the sale.
Yeah, brilliant. Okay, thank you, Mal.
No problem, a pleasure.
Again, and you put your LinkedIn there in
Yeah.
the chat as well.
Yeah, so definitely feel free to connect to anyone on LinkedIn and just ping me some questions, and I'm more than happy to answer.
Brilliant, thank you.
Okay.
So, I am going to hand over. If you go over to my wee box and put, there's 3 buttons will come up if you brilliant, thank you. So I am going to welcome along Lisa McCall, and Lisa is another person who was drafted in this morning to present. So Lisa's from Belfast Met, and she's going to give us an overview of some of the support they can offer to SMEs and businesses in Northern Ireland. So Lisa, I am going to make you host. Thank you very much for doing this.
You're very welcome.
And I will let you introduce yourself. I'm going to go on mute now. Brilliant.
Okay. Okay, so good morning, guys. And as Gillian said, I am Lisa McCall. I am from Belfast Met. I have a cold, so I apologise. And I am from the Economic Development and Social Inclusion team in Belfast Met. The guys at Digital Surge asked would I give a bit of an overview as to the support that we provide as a college to the business community here in Northern Ireland. And it's really around growth, upskilling and innovation. We've seen some fantastic ideas here this morning, and Mal has put me right off my train of thought. I'm on my phone playing about with that game of his. So thank you for that. As I say, lots of really good stuff talked about this morning, lots of really good questions. And I suppose what I'm going to try and do is give you an overview of some of the courses, the programs, sorry, that we offer that will help you to support you in your ideas. As a college, our vision is to be a partner of choice for employers here in Northern Ireland to equip learners and drive innovation and eventually transform lives. So what do we do? It's really simple. We're funded by the Department of the Economy, and we have several programs that, as I say, I'm going to go over this morning with you very briefly. But I thought a video could maybe tell that story and initiate that first of all for me. So if you can bear with me a second, I am going to share my screen and hopefully the video works. There you are, guys. So hopefully that gave you a bit of a flavour as to the type of stuff that we offer. So we work across all industries and have a particular interest in the tech sector here in Northern Ireland. We work with businesses just like yours within our local communities to support with upskilling and innovation. And our aim as a team is to help you achieve growth objectives, be more competitive in your industry and create employment opportunities, which ultimately adds to the value of the economy here in Northern Ireland. We have a really experienced team who have many years working in industry. I myself have come from the financial services industry and have 20 plus years dealing with SMEs and the trials and tribulations that come along with that. But I think the most important thing that we have to offer as a team is the network. It's very, very simple. If we can't help with your business, we will find someone who will. That could be within the college or not. The college has been operating since 1906, and with over 1,000 staff, we will do our best to help signpost you and place you in the right place to help support, as I say, your business. All of our programs are funded by our funding partner, which is the Department of the Economy, and all of the programs align to various government projects around skill strategies. I'll go through some of that support now. You know, ask me any questions if you have any. So first of all, we have Innovate Us, which I think is very apt to the subject that we're talking about today. It's a unique and tailored training program that helps provide solutions for your business. So we deliver bespoke training solutions that support an idea that you have and getting it to market. The program provides between 10 and 60 hours of one-to-one free flexible training to your company or to your staff. I think you have to be under 50 employees, but if you're a startup, you're not going to have 50 employees. The training can be offered, as I say, to your staff as well. And in the past, we have provided bespoke training around the areas that we've talked about today, in addition to software development, 3D CAD, other stuff, textiles manufacturing, product prototyping, and composite molding. Pardon me. Some of the companies that I'm working with at the minute, a video marketing company, an electrical vehicle support company, and a company who wishes to be innovative around the area of podcasting. So the scope is really, really wide. So I would encourage everyone on the webinar today to have a think, you know, what skills do your company need? What do you need to innovate and grow? I'm going to show you another video now of one of our current clients who's coming to the end of her journey. She has been through 3 Innovate Us projects. You may recognize her face. It's not the industry that we're talking about today, but I thought it was a really good way to share the story of what's happening.
Lisa, it's Gillian here. The last video, I don't know if anyone else could see it, but I couldn't see the last video.
Oh, okay.
So was anyone else able to see the last video that Lisa shared?
If you just stick your thumb up.
I didn't see it either, sorry.
I didn't see it either.
Oh, dear.
Sorry.
I thought it was just loading and then it didn't appear.
Oh, okay. Well, listen, let me try this one and we'll see, does this work? I'll be really sad if this one doesn't work. Hold on.
Looks better already. I can't hear anything.
Yeah, I can see the video, but no audio.
Okay.
And sometimes it's in settings on your. Do you want to set? Is it a link on YouTube or anything? And if you quickly send me the link.
It's not on YouTube. I'm not sure if it'll work if I put the link into the chat, but I will do that, and you guys can have a look at it. That's really sad that that's not working. What? Sorry.
It was Carolyn Stewart, was it? Oh.
It was, yeah. It's Carolyn Stewart. So she's a great ambassador for us. But I say I'll share it in the chat. So hopefully it works. So I'll pop on then to the next area, which is skills focus. And again, funded by the Department of the Economy, a really, really fantastic way of upskilling yourself or your workforce in technical skills such as 3D CAD, other soft skills that are covered in, for example, the various Institute of Leadership and in management courses that we offer. The funding is there really to support the growth of your organisation and to support the economy. And at the minute, 100% of the cost of that funding is covered by the DFE funding that we have. It did drop to 75, but it's went back up to 100%. So if there is any particular training that you can identify at the minute, so I'll give you an example. A lady that I spoke to yesterday who has an online education platform. She has 2 members of staff that are currently going through one-to-one training with one of our lecturers around the area of animation. So that funding will be completely, or that training will be completely funded for those guys. And, you know, as a startup business, it's completely invaluable to them. So as I say, have a think, and if there's anything, please do reach out and we'll see, can we support you in whatever way we can. Unfortunately, we are limited to supporting businesses that are based in Northern Ireland and have less than 250 employees. So I know we have some international visitors on the webinar today, so I do apologise. I'll give you another really cool example of this. In September, we kicked off with 2 full classes of HND electrical engineering students. That all are employees of local engineering companies, manufacturing companies around Northern Ireland. And those guys are on the year course where they will complete their HND, and it's completely free of charge under the skills focus funding. So if we move then on to Skill Up, which is known affectionately as the Flexible Skills Fund. This is where we can offer training to anyone. So you don't have to be affiliated with a company. You don't have the trappings of the level of employees, etc., etc. So any individual can come and sign up for a course under the Skill Up funding. At the minute, we're running courses under Skill Up around digital marketing. We've just started one there last week on Microsoft Excel. You know, we're doing stuff random welding courses for women, and as they all covered by Skill Up. We're at Belfast Met are offering these free places on a number of other accredited programs, and that information can be found on our website. The courses are designed to provide an additional upskilling and reskilling opportunities, and the aim really is to support individuals who wouldn't normally engage because of the cost that's associated with training, to help improve their skills profile and in turn, of course, that of the Northern Ireland economy. Eligibility is simply to be over 18 and to be eligible to work in Northern Ireland. So as I say, please get skilling up on your own agenda. The funding is there, and we'd love to talk to you about taking advantage of some of that for yourself or your employees. And finally, I suppose one that it could be applicable a lot to this industry is where we are supporting the innovation voucher scheme that is managed by InvestNI. We initially can help and guide you with your application. The last one closed there in October, and I think 2 days before the application deadline, I had 2 small companies come and ask for support with their application, which we did. We review, we give feedback from our specialised lecturers in those particular topics, and those guys will give you that feedback before you pop in your application. Those two examples that I gave were successful. And what happens next then, if you choose to, you can choose Belfast Met as your innovation partner to deliver the project that your innovation voucher was awarded for. And as I say, if you're approved, you're assigned a lecturer in the area that will help you design a prototype, if that's what it is, put together your idea, and taking you one step closer to reality and eventually market. Two companies that I'm working with at the minute on that are an online training company who are prototyping a package that will allow their customers to take this away and do the training themselves. The other is an energy saving company who are designing a new platform for monitoring our energy use. So those are two local businesses that are making strides in their own industry. So that's really me. I could probably talk here for another half an hour. I'm not going to do that because we are over time ever so slightly. I'm going to just share our contact details. So there's a QR code that will take you to the website. And my direct email address is on that. So if you want to take a wee record of this, and do get in touch if there's any particular questions that you have. And I am happy enough to come back to you, meet up with you, have a Teams call, have a Zoom call, whatever it is. We're very, very flexible in our approach in dealing with businesses. So great to speak to you guys today. It's great being under pressure to pull something together, and isn't it fantastic when technology doesn't work? So thank you very much, guys. I'll leave that on the screen there for a second or two, just to give you the opportunity to take a picture of the QR or take yourself into the page. So thank you, Gillian.
Lisa, thank you. And I know technology. I'm sure I did a presentation for about 15 minutes without sharing my screen or anything. A lot of the time it's not the technology's fault, it's mine. So thank you very much for that.
I'll try and put that wee link in for Carolyn's video here now.
Oh, brilliant. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
If you could make me host again there, please. That's me there, Digital Surge. That'd be great. And brilliant, thank you. So that was great, Lisa. Thank you very much. And thank you very much to Mal and David and Nigel as well. I am very quickly going to do an overview of the Digital Surge program. So again, this is for companies who are based in Northern Ireland from any sector, any council area, as long as they have under 50 employees. So Mal, for instance, is one of our mentors. So these webinars, and Charlie's also runs an innovation workshop, they're part of this program, but anyone is welcome to come along to the workshops and masterclasses. But if you want to avail of the 6 days of mentoring support, which Mal mentioned as well, you can split up into 2-hour blocks or half days or whatever. It's not 6 days, you have to book out in one go. It's 6 days of mentoring support in areas such as blockchain, big data, AI and machine learning, IoT, robotics, and of course immersive technologies. And it's really to help small businesses. It's not about trying to create a new product, or it's not about startups, although we have startups on the program. It's about seeing how these technologies can help you address business challenges and achieve your goals. So you get the 6 days of mentoring support, and then at the end of it you get a digital acceleration plan, which will signpost you on or make the introductions on to further funding or further support with the likes of the regional colleges or Digital Catapult and Intertrade or Innovate UK. So there's lots of other support, and of course Invest NI of out there, and to see does this technology make sense for your business, and how do you go about. We'll give you a strategy of how you would go about implementing it and getting the benefits from it. The QR code, somebody recently said if one thing brought us, it was a realization of QR codes, because they've been around for a long time and nobody used them. But QR code there in the corner to take you to the application form, and it's actually an expression of interest form. It's very, very brief. And then you get a call with Martin, our lead mentor, to really discuss what we don't expect you to say, I want blockchain and I want it to do this, or I want to use immersive technology to do this. Martin will talk through with you what your challenges are, and then we'll fit around how whatever technology and how it can help you. So I am going to stop sharing my screen. I'll put this in the chat as well, or email it out afterwards. I just see some chat. That was Lisa putting in her contact details there. So has anyone any questions I should have asked as well, has anyone any questions for Lisa about Belfast Met? Or has anyone any questions about the Digital Surge programme? If you want me to give you a ring, message me, and I'll give you a ring to discuss the programme. But I mean, it really is the best thing to do is submit the expression of interest form, which takes 2 minutes, and then have the call with Martin, and he can really tease out what we can help you with. I've one favour to ask. Everyone has sort of very kindly logged in with their name, even just their first name. If you can DM me or private message me, whatever the terminology is, if you've logged in as your phone or anything, it's confidential. I'm not going to be sharing that. It's just so I can tick off who's been here to let Invest NI know, because Invest NI and the councils fund the programme, and there's a fair wee bit of auditing and checking up to make sure that this took place and people were actually on it. So I am also going to share a feedback link, if you wouldn't mind taking 2 seconds just to fill this out. We're always really keen to know what we're doing well and what we aren't doing well, so we can keep innovating as part of the or just making things better to make sure it's hitting the mark. And as I shared earlier as well, we have some more classes coming up. I think I've already shared this link. Oh, sorry. If you want to register for any of the upcoming master classes, and if you want to speak, if you're somebody who is maybe starting to use one of these technologies, or is a story to tell, a case study or success story about using any of the technologies that are coming up in your business, you're very, very welcome to I'm not actually presenting this properly, but you get the idea. There are the classes coming up. You're very welcome. I'm always on the lookout for speakers, as Mal and Lisa know, and been drafted in. But there are a list of the classes coming up. So I think we are. Stop share. I think we're coming to an end. So has anyone any questions before we close off? I hopefully have recorded this properly, and it'll take me a while to download it, edit it, and upload it again, but it'll be on our YouTube channel that is in the chat there as well. So has anyone any questions? No, you can get in touch with me afterwards if you have any questions, or get in touch with Lisa and Mal, and I think David shared his details too, but I'll send them out afterwards. So well, that's it, everybody. Rock's just saying we don't have stuff like this in Toronto, but there's probably a lot in Toronto that we don't have, so everyone loves Canada. Okay, well, look, thank you very much for coming along. I hope you find it interesting. Thank you very much to our presenters, and hopefully you'll, if you're eligible, apply for the programme if you're not already on it, and attend some more of our sessions. So thank you very much, and have a great afternoon.